Hello everyone, I'm Kim and welcome to my channel Stash Stitcher. Now this week has been so lovely because I have just sewn. Those of you that watched me will know that last week, right at the tail end of my video, I had literally just got back my sewing machine. And she had been gone for 4 weeks. She'd been serviced, she'd been out of my sewing room for 4 whole weeks, and it had been torture. I was really struggling at the tail end of that. But even with that being said, I did spend those weeks being productive. I cut out quite a lot of things and I planned a lot of things. And I did do some sewing on my overlocker, so I have a lot to show you. I have 5 bag or pouch projects to show you, and I do have some finished garments. And I think if I show all of those in one video, it's going to be really long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do them in bite sizes, and I'll just drop them into YouTube throughout the week because they'll be a little bit more palatable to watch in smaller chunks. That quite a few of the bag projects I've done, out of the 5 projects, 4 of them I've never made before. I'm not a bag maker. This is a whole new area for me. I did make a few bags at the tail end of last year. I made 2 cavalcade travel bags. They were both Harry Potter themed, and I made one for my daughter and one for my son's girlfriend because both of them are Harry Potter mad. And I made those bags up. They probably, well, they most definitely weren't the best choice of bag to make as a first project, but I did learn a lot from making them. So when I made the first bag up, some of my choices of interfacing weren't brilliant, so I changed them when I made the second one. But even making the second one, I realized, I could still do things differently. So bag making is a whole new area for me, and I do realize that the interfacing part of bag making is really important. So I'm hoping to share some of that newfound knowledge with you as I work through some of these projects that I've finished. So the first bag I made was the spring roll pouch. Now, I was in a bit of a rush to get this done because I wanted to make this pouch as a replacement toiletry bag for my husband. And I'd already picked the fabrics, and I wanted it to be waterproof. So the fabrics that were picked were this beautiful textured faux leather. He had picked the colour, so it's a forest green, a really nice colour. And whilst I was on the site, the AE Market site, I found this contrasting orange Ripstop fabric. So I thought they would work really well together. This for the outside and this for the internal lining. Now, probably not the best choice of fabric to use on making something for the first time. But admittedly, it doesn't ever put me off. I wanted it to be waterproof because it was a toiletry bag, and I just thought if my husband spilled anything in his bag, like toothpaste or moisturiser, not that he wears moisturiser, but anything, he could wipe it clean and that would be it. So that was the plan. And thankfully, I had the fabric already in my sewing room, so I knew that once I had a pattern I could get it cut out and ready to be sewn up when my machine came back. So my machine came home on the Friday. I was working on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My husband was going to Norfolk on the Tuesday for his dad's 88th birthday, and he would normally go for 3 or 4 days. So I wanted to get this bag made up so that he had everything he needed that would fit into this one toiletry bag. So that was the plan. So I didn't have a lot of time because when I finished work on the Sunday, it's quite a long day, so I really had 1 whole day to get it done. But the fabric was cut out and I had the pattern downloaded. So it was a PDF which I bought from a company called Love You Sew. The pouch itself, I was drawn to the pouch because of this beautiful zip effect on the outside. It went sort of at an angle across the pouch. It had a lovely handle, and the one thing that really drew me to it was the fact that the whole thing would open up literally flat, and you could get quite a lot in it, and you could see everything that you had put into your pouch. So that's what drew me to it. So it was a good size finish. It was 9.5 inches wide by 4 inches high and 4 inches deep. Usually with things like this, you get lots of fabric suggestions. So if I wasn't making this for my husband, I would probably have made it in quilting cotton to test pattern out first of all. So you can make it in quilting cotton, canvas or denim, or alternatively you can make it in cork, vinyl or leather. So obviously I had picked fabrics that were more the sort of slippery end, and because of that I went in search of YouTube tutorials. Now the instructions themselves were very good. The instructions came with all of these colourful images and text instructions. Also at the front it broke the bag elements down, so you could see all the bag elements here and all the different fabrics. So when you went through the actual making up of the pattern, you could see where all of those different fabrics sort of faced as the pouch was being made up. So I quite liked that detail. Also, obviously you get your actual pouch pattern in the back here to print off. What I would say is when you download this, just make sure that you double check the actual pattern size, because the test square did not measure an inch, so I had to go back and just reprint the pattern pieces off as 100% size. So make sure you do that, because you don't want your pouch to be too small. The nice thing about this pouch is it also has lots of different effects that you can have inside. So you can opt to have slip pockets, elasticated pockets, zipper pockets, or even just elasticated slots. So you can swap those around. My husband just wanted slip pockets on his, but I think if I was making this as a craft bag, I wonder whether I would put in an additional zipper pocket on the edge and maybe put a few snap pocket poppers on slip pockets. It's really open to interpretation. You can just have what you want, which suits what you want to use the pouch for, but I thought they were really quite nice to chop and change those around. So as well as the features, you have to also decide on the notions, and the notions obviously are reflected by the additional features you have. So if you decide that you want a zipper pocket on the side, you need an additional zipper for that. If you want elasticated pockets, obviously you need to make sure that you've got elastic. The handle itself suggests that you use rivets, but I think if you're going to use quilting cotton or canvas, for instance, you could just stitch that down. So if you're not somebody who has rivets in your stash, there's no reason why you couldn't just stitch the handle down. So as well as all of the fabric suggestions and notions, the one area where I do get confused about bag making is all the different sorts of interfacing. And I have learnt that fundamentally, if you are using quilting cotton, canvas or denim and you want a firmer bag, you really need to use a foam stabilizer or interfacing. Because my husband wanted a squishy pouch, he didn't want his to have foam in. He didn't want it to be too structured. So I didn't use foam on the exterior of the fabric. It's very squidgy, and the only interfacing I use two actually. I use the G700. So with the Ripstop, I use this G700. It's quite flimsy. It's a woven interfacing, and you can, if you were using quilting cotton, you could adhere that to the cotton really easily. But because I was trying to iron it onto the back of Ripstop, obviously Ripstop was 100% polyester, and a hot iron anywhere near this will just make it melt. So I did adhere the interfacing initially by using my old faithful organza pressing cloth, and it did adhere, but it didn't remain stuck. It would keep peeling away, so I'd have to keep ironing it to re-stick it down. And it was a bit of a problem when I was making the bag up, because it would just keep peeling away. But once the ripstop and the interfacing were stitched in place, it didn't matter. I just needed it to get to that point that that interfacing was stitched down, and it didn't matter whether it came away or not. So I used that interfacing, and I also used S133, and I had this in my sewing room already, and it's a really stiff interfacing or stabilizer. It's a bit like card. It's a lot heavier, I believe, than Decaville Heavy, and the only reason why I used this was because when I put the handle on my husband's pouch, because he wanted it squidgy, the handle sort of pulled the fabric in slightly, so I needed to just put the handle onto a plinth, a stiffer plinth, so it didn't sort of pull the fabric in. And it worked really well, and I riveted the handle anyway, so it's not going to move. So let's have a look at the pouch. So this is the pouch. So it's nice and squidgy. You can see it's squidgy, but it does sort of fill back out to the sides, and it's got this fabulous zipper that runs at an angle across the sides and front. They have the zipper pull. The zipper pulls, which I already had these in my stash. So these are two skull zipper pulls, which I bought from Purple Stitches. The zipper itself I bought from Country Cow Designs, and this I bought this because it has this really effective stripe effect on it, which I thought worked really well with the fabric. And I chose to put one of my labels on the front. So these are the labels that I bought with the money that the lovely kind ladies donated in my Ko-fi account. So I've started using these labels already. So this is the external bit, and you can see the handle on the top has rivets. The handle itself I felt could be a little bit longer, and I felt it was probably because of my fabric choice. Because I can hold this quite easily, but for a man's hand, because it's bigger, I felt that if it was probably a little bit longer, it would give a man more room to put his hand underneath the handle. And because, as I said before, the handle was pulling the fabric in slightly, I used my S133 interfacing to create this plinth. So you can see underneath there's this stabilizer underneath the handle, which is holding that handle in place. But once it's sort of all relaxed and everything, you can't see that interfacing at all. So inside you will see all of the ripstop fabric. So, and I think this looks really effective, and it's waterproof, so that's what I wanted. That's the effect that I was going for. And I had this green zipper already in my stash, and the zipper pocket just opens, and it's also the ripstops everywhere inside, so that's what I wanted. Everything is top stitched, so I knew that the top stitching would hold that G700 interfacing in place. So even though that interfacing is pulled away from the ripstop, it's still given the effect that I wanted by giving it the stability I wanted that ripstop to have. So you can see it's quite nice, and he can fit a lot into this bag. You have the little slip pockets here, so if you wanted to swap these out for you know, a zipper pocket or an elasticated pocket, you have the choice to do that with the bag. So this pattern is supposed to be for an experienced beginner sewist, and I would totally agree, this came together really well, and there are so many fabulous tutorials out there, and the instructions as well are very good, so you shouldn't have any difficulty stitching this up. The only area where I struggled, probably because of my fabric choices, was this area here. So where the pouch sort of comes into this angled corner, you're having to stitch a straight line. So basically when you're stitching, you're stitching this seam here, and it's pulled so you stitch it straight, and in that seam you have the external fabric, you have an internal wing, you also have this gusset that has to be stitched into, so it literally pulls everything into that section there, and the same goes for that, and also the zipper meets in the middle, so you have to also ensure that that is stitched. Now the problem with stitching in a straight line with a zipper in the middle is impossible. So what it says you have to do is you have to literally maneuver the zipper up slightly and stitch this as a straight seam. So obviously as soon as you pull this zipper up, everything wants to move with it, so you feel that the zipper is pulling your fabric one way and you're trying to pull it the other. But with all things, just take your time, just literally tease it through. I did find that when I did it the first time, I was sure that I would end up with a cat's bum when I opened it up, but miraculously it did stitch okay. When I came to do the other side, what I did do is I stitched one row down, opened it up to have a look to see what it looked like, and if it looked like it was all falling into place, I went back and then stitched it properly at the correct seam allowance. I think it was 1/4 inch, so I just took my time doing the second one. The first one I think happened by miracle, but once that's all in, you've got a lot going on in that zipper area, and yeah, it just come together really, really well. So if you're just aware of, you know, that's the one area where I struggled with, but even so, I just took my time and it all came together. And the nice thing is that my husband ended up with a really nice toiletry bag, and it was all finished in time for him for when he left for Norfolk, and he was pleased as punch. And I have got some photos of him with it, so I put those at the end. So before I finish this video, I thought I would also just mention the presser feet. Now 9 times out of 10 I will always use my walking foot, so my machine comes with a walking foot, so I'll always use this thing because it just makes the fabric glide through the machine nice and evenly. But obviously I wasn't able to use that all the time when making up this pouch, because with any sort of bag you will realize there are lots of tight corners and areas that you need to get in, and the best foot for that is a zipper foot. And a few months ago I treated myself to a Teflon zipper foot because I knew that I would be using different fabrics other than cotton you know, like my faux leather, and I just needed to make sure that this presser foot would glide over the fabric effortlessly, because I didn't want to have to also contend with stitching fabric that didn't like a metal zipper foot. So this has worked out a treat, and because I've made quite a few things this week, this has been used quite a lot, and it has been worth its weight in gold. So I'm really pleased that I have this in my arsenal of presser feet. So keep an eye out for my next project. I made the zip around wallet purse. Now this pattern is a free pattern from Johan Sewing Studios, and I've had it in my stash for a very long time, and I have printed it off a few times thinking I was going to make it, and it just kept on getting pushed aside. But because I've been in this bag making phase, I dug it out again and I made it up, and I'm so pleased I did. It's such a nice wallet, and Johan's tutorial is exceptional, and I can see myself making quite a few of these. So keep an eye out for that video, and I will see you in the next couple of days. So for now, take care and see you soon. Bye.